Hey everyone, so you've either found me by stumbling across me on YouTube or you've been directed here by reading my new book, Landscape Painting for Beginners, Oil Painting Fundamentals. It's a practical step-by-step beginner guide on how to paint beautiful, vibrant landscape paintings from start to finish. This video goes alongside this book. If this is your first time seeing the video and you haven't bought the book, there is a link to where you can buy the book down in the description box below. I'm going to teach you the start to finish process that I use to make realistic landscape paintings just like this one, and hope this helps you too. So let's begin by preparing our canvas surface with a white acrylic gesso. We're going to pour the gesso over the surface and we're going to use a clean foam brush to spread the gesso. The reason I use a foam brush is because it allows the gesso to be evenly spread and keeps things as smooth as possible, unlike paint brushes which could leave streaks. After 10 or 15 minutes the gesso should be dry, so I use a piece of sandpaper to lightly go over the surface, which helps to remove any unwanted bubbles. Then wipe this clean with a paper towel or a dry cloth. And you can see here why this step is so important. For a much smoother surface, repeat this process again until you have your desired surface. Next, I use Michael Harding's Burnt Sienna Acrylic Primer to prime the dried canvas and to give the painting a warm undertone. You apply this in the same way you would gesso. So use a clean foam brush to dip into the primer and apply it to your canvas. Depending on your environment, the burnt sienna primer can dry really fast, so it's best to work quickly with this. This is the canal scene we're going to paint today, and it's located in Swindon. But before any paint goes down, I want to improve the composition. I uploaded the photo to my computer and placed a golden ratio grid over it, and straight away I noticed that none of the main elements sat on the golden ratio line, making the composition feel a little weak and unbalanced. So, to strengthen the scene, I decided to add more depth, which is indicated by these squiggles here. Also, I've moved this larger tree over to the left and shifted these tree trunks to the right so they better align with the grid. I've also added a few ducks to the water, which is inspired by some I spotted earlier on in my walk, to help bring a little more life to the painting. With this new composition idea, I've sketched this out on a few quick thumbnails to help me visualise it and to make sure all the elements work before committing to the painting. In chapter 3 we learn all about the importance of the golden ratio rule and how to apply it. So here we're going to mark this now. I measure the width of the canvas, which is 59.4 centimetres, and times it by the golden ratio. This gives us the exact measurement for the golden ratio grid that we can mark off using a ruler and a pencil. I place the ruler on the edge of the canvas and mark 36.7 centimetres. I turn the ruler over and make a second mark, and then I repeat this on the bottom. We're going to do the same to get the golden ratio measurements for the horizon line. So for my canvas, 42 centimetres times 0.618. And then I mark 25.9 centimetres each side. All that's left to do is to join these lines, and this will give us our golden ratio grid, which helps us to place our focal points and keep your painting interesting and harmonious. If you want to add more focal points and extend the grid, you can easily do this by using the golden ratio caliper. Open it so the points are at the edge of the canvas and your mark line, and mark this. Flip it over and make another mark. I've broken my scene down into a manageable 5-step value scale to help me identify depth, as well as the placement of the lightest lights and the darkest darks. I then apply the principles from chapter 2 to simplify the landscape, dividing it into manageable zones by outlining different value shapes. This provides me with a clear guide or blueprint that I can use to accurately transfer the image onto my canvas. I then connect my iPad to the projector and position the image so that the elements align with the golden ratio lines we drew earlier. This ensures my focal points are placed in the strongest compositional areas before transferring the image onto the canvas. I then quickly and roughly sketch over these lines to allow the image to appear. Using a projector is just one of many ways that you can transfer your image onto the canvas. You can also use a grid method, tracing using a screen, printing your image, or freehand sketching. We're going to create an underpainting because as beginners it can be difficult to visualise where the light areas and the dark areas should go. Creating a 5-step value scale before any paint is applied allows us to simplify the process and create a clear map so we can approach the scene with confidence. In Chapter 6 I explain how I mix this value scale using titanium white, burnt sienna and a near black to make the other two in-between values. Use the methods that we've learnt in the book to quickly block in the main values of your scene. This will help you see the structure, form and depth more clearly, making the painting process much easier. I like to approach a painting with a clear 3-step process, and this method helps break down the painting into manageable parts. It also allows you to gradually develop layers and build texture, resulting in a more realistic and interesting painting. We're going to start by blocking in the painting, and for me the blocking in stage is where we can cover the canvas with paint in a single sitting, and the goal is to create an immediate, simple version using blocks of colour ready to build upon in the next 2 stages. We're going to approach this stage with what we've learnt in the book, which is starting with whatever element is furthest away, which will be the sky, the hills, and then coming forward, and finishing with whatever is closest to us, so in this case the grass and the trees. One thing to remember here is that values are really important, so anything that you're painting further away is going to be more desaturated and lighter in value, and as the scene comes forward the saturation increases and the value gets darker. We're going to slow it down now with the modelling and forming stage, and this stage is the longest part of the process and requires more attention and patience. This is the second stage of a 3-step process, and it's all about refining the shapes to create depth, form and structure. This is where your painting really takes shape and comes alive. We use the same process as before, starting with whatever is furthest away and bringing the scene forward. We're also going to take it into consideration that things far away in the distance, like this hill, will be lighter in value and desaturated. And although this hill looks quite green, I've mixed up a combination of titanium white, cobalt teal and yellow ochre, and then desaturated this colour with its complementary opposite. And as we've learnt in previous chapters, as the scene progresses and moves forward, the colours are more vibrant and saturated, and in certain areas the value will decrease and get darker. You may have also noticed that elements in the distance are kept soft, muted and they lack detail, and as the scene comes forward we introduce sharper, cleaner marks to create detail, and this helps to create a separation between what is near and what is far, and it plays a huge part in creating a convincing, realistic scene on a 2-dimensional surface. Now, I have been guilty of this so many times, but when I'm in the zone, I can sometimes forget to pause and take a step back and look at my work as one overall piece. So sometimes I've caught myself putting far too much detail in the distance, and then it doesn't really allow the forefront to stand out. In Chapter 7 I talk about common mistakes and how to fix them, and this is one major mistake that happens often. The way that you fix this mistake is by having regular breaks, taking a step back and reviewing your work. If you are feeling tired or frustrated, it's always best just to pause, take a break and come back when you're feeling better, and you can approach it with a fresh mind. There's something quite satisfying about painting water reflections because the image is already created for you. All you're doing is copying whatever is above. And one way that you can do that is by taking a piece of glass from an old picture frame and sitting it on the horizon line, and you'll be able to see the reflection. Whatever is above will be below. The difference between the two would be anything in the water is going to appear much duller in colour, and the textures is going to be so much softer. We don't want to see any crisp or harsh lines in the water unless that's something that's right there at the forefront that needs your attention. The same with the trees. With the water, I use a soft synthetic brush which is completely dry, and that way that I can just lightly brush over the paint that I've already applied, and it will make it much softer, and you can just wipe the tip off with a paper towel there. And I use the same approach when I'm painting trees or anything that I want to build a bit of texture with. So just to go over and summarise what we've learned in the modelling and forming stage. Modelling and forming stage is about creating the image that gives your painting three-dimensional elements that you can work back over the top with. This isn't about throwing all the details onto the canvas at once, it's about earning the details. So creating the shapes and the values and the structure of elements to then be able to build up stronger, thicker textured marks over the top to create that realism. So in this final stage of a three-part process, we're going to add the details. And the details is about bringing colour and vibrancy and realism to the painting to finish it off. And this will include making your paint marks thicker with impasto medium that you learn in chapter 1, and using it to really enhance the idea that you're trying to portray in your painting. This is the stage that you have earned, so have fun with it, be creative, and enjoy the overall creative journey. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give me a like and a subscribe, and leave a comment for any questions that you may have. And don't forget to pick up your copy of my new book by clicking the link down in the description box below. I'll see you back here for the next one.